This is episode 106. Do you want to hear one of the best interviews I've ever done all time with my favorite, Paul Akers, teaching us about lean and how to actually get quality and safety to every worker on site? If so, stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we take daily steps in elevating the precision, safety, and excellence of construction to the delight of workers, managers, partners, and our customers. My name is Jason Schroeder, and we have such an amazing guest with us today. We have Paul Akers here to talk to us about how to create lean cultures on our construction projects. But first, I want to do a quick intro. Not the typical intro, mind you, but one sincerely described in a way I feel about Paul's impact. So, anybody in construction likely knows who Paul Akers is. And even though construction relies a lot on Last Planner and LCI and the Lean blog and a lot of these books like The Toyota Way or Lean Thinking, Paul Akers' book, 2 Second Lean, was likely one of the first books that actually made an impact in creating lean cultures in construction. I know at least that was the way it was for me. And in my location here in Phoenix, Arizona, that book made such an impact in construction, it's just immeasurable. So here's how I feel about it. Paul has made lean fun and made it to where we can use lean to just literally live a remarkable life. And when I see his videos, I feel enticed to live that remarkable life and to take myself to that next level. The only real word that I could use to describe it is inspired. That's it, inspired. Like I feel motivated, inspired, driven to go do what is necessary to take myself, the industry, and everybody to the next level. His books and videos are in free formats, which he has made accessible and scalable to everyone, which I think is amazing and says a lot about his character. And for anybody in construction, this book does not just tie to manufacturing. This book will allow you and make sure that you are able to implement on your construction projects if you just give it a little bit of thinking. I know I was able to do that on the research laboratory, and it just paid dividends. So while I am only 1/100,000th on my, into my lean journey, life has become so remarkable for me and my family that I just can't speak enough about the 2 Second Lean method and anything that Paul Akers does. Implementing the concepts in these books has brought me more money, more time, better relationships than anything else I've done in construction with lean, any training I've ever taken, and I've been able to use this to serve and share with others. One last note, I recently started a business called Elevate Construction, and my goal is to improve construction and this industry from coast to coast and respect workers, the individuals, to have highly well-trained leaders and to preserve families through balanced job sites that are fun and remarkable. And I was able to do this and get this started and really be inspired to do this because of Paul's book, 2 Second Lean, and because of how it applies to building lean cultures on construction projects. And I believe that somehow, some way, we will be able to do this and change this industry for the better through the concepts that he teaches and take it to the next step and scale up excellence and bless more and more people on a continual basis. So here's the interview with Paul Akers. It was 10 times better than I thought it would be when I headed into it. And so here's the audio. I hope you enjoy. Well, Paul, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure.
So to do a brief intro and make sure that we kind of cue this up before I ask you the main question, I'd like to ask you 2 quick questions that I personally didn't get from reading your books and watching your videos, which I've had other people ask about and I'm curious about as well. So number 1, you do a lot of things and you're a very busy man. What does your time management system look like?
I don't work with people that waste my time. Most people waste their time and overprocess their communication and basically everything they do. I don't allow people to impose their inefficiencies on me, so I will cut them off And I'll say, when you get your act together and you know what you're talking about, come back to me and talk to me. Otherwise, I'm not going to work with you.
So my second question would be, what techniques and tools do you use to keep yourself organized as you work with people that have kind of a lean mentality and aren't wasting your time?
Yeah. So I do something called Getting Things Done, David Allen's book. I've been doing it for a little over, I think, a year and a half now, right around there. It dramatically changed my life. Now, are you familiar with Getting Things Done?
I am. And in fact, in our field engineering boot camp, that's one of the required prerequisite readings. So yes, go ahead.
Right. So I would take it one step further, Jason, and I would say it's required that everybody do it. You cannot, everyone in my company does it. If you're going to be in my sphere of influence and you're going to work with me, I'm going to pretty much demand that you do that, because there's no way you can manage everything that's coming at you effectively if you're not doing that. So every day, everything that comes into my mind immediately goes on a list that is correlated to the place where the work is being done. Every 2 hours, I go into process mode where I sit down, look at my lists, see that I'm getting through all my things, whether it be phone calls, in car, whatever it is, I go through that. And my brain is always empty, so I'm always free and present to be focused. And that's how I manage everything that comes at me all day long.
So to put that feedback into perspective, from now on, our boot camps, we will make that a requirement. So that's a commitment for me. And I follow that same system. I didn't know that. I think that's very enlightening. So my big question, and let me cue it up by saying this. I just finished Spanish Sloppiness and mind blown. I love 2-second lean, but I've had questions about Japanese culture for a while, and it's been fantastic reading that book. And I have so many thoughts and things that I'm going to use and implement. So to cap that experience off for me and for anyone listening and for what we're trying to do in this industry, in construction specifically, here's my question. I want to get the culture of lean and quality and precision all the way to workers on site and respect them. Sometimes these wonderful professionals, they're only on our projects temporarily. I'm sure you know in construction, they're not always respected. I want to change that. But they are the key to safety, cleanliness, organization, quality. And if we could scale excellence through them more effectively, like you have at FastCap, we could take our next step. So what advice would you give me? How can we create a culture as a network of contractors in construction?
Well, it's a great question. I'm really happy that you read Banished Sloppiness. I talk a little bit about that in Banished Sloppiness. I talk about Technos Smile, the company that trains the Lexus temporary workers. You recall that any of those stories in there?
I'm embarrassed I don't, and I just listened to it, but go ahead.
It's okay. There's enough in there that you could easily miss some stuff. So here's the way I would explain it to you. If you have temporary workers, they really need to understand the standards at exactly the same level that a full-time worker understands it. And I really learned this concept when I was in Japan at a company called Technos Smile. They are a company that specializes in training temporary workers for Lexus. Now, Lexus has the highest standards in the world, and you can't just let anybody make a Lexus. You got to be able to see in high detail and precision at a very high level. So Technos Smile spends about a month training the temporary workers before they ever hit the shop floor.
Wow.
And it's really breathtaking because we take, when you go to Japan with me, we take you there and you get to see how they're working with the people and the level and the details that they're working with. So one of the things they teach people is this concept of normal and not normal. And this is really speaks directly to what you're saying, Jason, about being able to see the details, see the precision, and have people do high quality work, even though they're temporary workers. So the instructor explains that what I want you to do when you go out on the floor is I want you to pay attention to everything that's normal, but the minute something becomes not normal, abnormal, you need to stop. And so he makes them repeat that: normal, abnormal. What are you going to do? Stop. You're not just going to stop. You're going to stop. You're going to call. You're going to call your supervisor, and you're going to wait. And you're not going to do anything, because it is so critical that we always are producing quality. Now, you think about that. A temporary worker is going to stop the entire Toyota production line. They're going to stop the entire plant. That's counterintuitive. No temporary employee would ever do that. They would never do that. They're a temporary worker. They're not going to go up and pull that cord and watch the entire plant shut down. They're not going to do that. And Toyota understands that. But Toyota also understands that if they don't produce quality, they lose their reputation and they don't survive. So they methodically train the temporary workers as well as the full-time workers that if there is abnormal or normal, anything abnormal, you stop, call, wait, period. And they repeat it over and over again. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. Okay, Seki-san, you're in the plant, everything's normal. All of a sudden you smell something that doesn't normal. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. Seki-san, all of a sudden you're in the plant and you hear something that's not normal. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. Seki-san, all of a sudden you see something that's normal. What are you going to do? A cat runs across the floor. A bolt falls on the ground. A piece of paper falls on the ground, but there's no paper on the ground. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. And the whole class is saying this. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. You have 5 senses. You have your sight, you have your smell, you have your taste. Let's say you taste something in your mouth. There's some weird thing going on and your mouth tastes different. What are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. So the answer, Jason, is relentless training for even the part-time people. And you need to respect them at the same level you would respect anyone. This is the way it's done.
I had not thought about that before, and that's an amazing answer. And it sounds so relentless training is what I heard you say. The other theme that I heard, and I'd like to see if you have any comments to this, in your book, Banish Sloppiness, and also another book that I read, The Power of Habit. It seems like quality, if that becomes your first focus, that it improves safety, cleanliness, organization, operations, everything else. And I heard you say this in order. Quality is first, a focus on customer service, coordination, and if you can create that culture, then we can win with precision, with accuracy, with quality. Is there anything you would add to that?
Respect for your resources, respect for humanity, respect for your 2 most valuable resources, a deep respect for people and for the resources. I'll give you a good example. Yesterday, I went to Costco, and they had a pair of shoes there that kind of got my interest up. And so in order for me to try them on, I had to pull the paper out of the inside of it. And I pulled the paper out of the inside. It was very difficult. It was a piece of cardboard that they had put in there and everything. And I tried on the shoe. And then as I was going to put it away, I thought to myself, what would I normally do? And what would most people do? They just shove the shoe back in the box, leave the paper out, and don't worry about it, right? But I thought to myself, because of my training in Japan and the way the Japanese people think, they would never do that. They would be very respectful of the resource that was provided to them. And they would dutifully put the paper back in and carefully put the shoes back in the box so they look unmolested. And so as I performed that task, it took me a little bit longer, but I showed deep respect for myself as well, that I had the dignity and the thoughtfulness to do that. But as I put it back on the shelf, I thought to myself, I remember thinking to myself, I could have easily said, don't worry, Costco will fix it. They have people that go around and do all that, right? But I said to myself, Paul, you know what? This is your resource. Costco is your resource. You live in a country where a thriving company like this could exist, and you shouldn't take that for granted. And even though it's their property and it's their things and you didn't buy the shoes and they didn't fit you or whatever it is, if everybody viewed the way they move through life with this level of respect for people and the resources that have been granted us, that have been entrusted to us, everything would change. So I go into a bathroom in an airplane. They're always disgusting. There's people leave their toilet paper on the ground. There's water all over the mirror. It's just a pigsty. The first thing I do is I grab a paper towel, I reach down the floor, pick up all the dirty tissue that everyone's left down there, clean it all up, put it down the trash, wipe the counter off, and I leave the bathroom perfect every time. Do I need to do that? I'm not the janitor of the airline. I'm not the janitor of the 200 people that are on that plane. But you know what? That plane is a resource that has been provided to me because I live in a country where we have air travel, where we have comfortable seats. We have all these things. And this is the way I look at everything. And when you get an entire organization to have that level of respect for the resources that have been given us, that we've been entrusted to, that we are the stewards of, everything changes.
That answer is really helpful because, so I told you in the preparatory, in the video that I sent you ahead of time to provide the context, that in construction, we not only have the huddles with leadership with the foreman on site, we also have worker huddles in the morning, 5 to 10 minutes. And if also the orientation, you said they were oriented and trained for a month. If orientations increased and we meet with all of the workers on site every day, that kind of culture and getting them to see what you're seeing and this concept that you're explaining, I really feel like that could be communicated and taught.
No question. There's no question it can. And remember how I explained the scenario at Technos Smile? They were constantly testing for comprehension. What are you going to do? If you taste something in your mouth, what are you going to do? Stop, call, wait. So they make sure they don't just teach the material. They make sure that they deeply understand it.
And then that brings in your foreman, your superintendents, and other people that can help. So I think that's the missing key. My goal today was to really get some keys that can help us. The stop, call, wait is going to be a game changer. When you in your book, you also, this is a story that I remembered keenly, the example of stretching. And I know this is a global example, but the Japanese learned this from the United States. And now you said in Japan, school children and companies and workers and everyone does a stretch and flex in the morning. Here was the thought that came to me. You said specifically in the book, in Japan they were able to sustain it, and then in the States it's not sustained, or we haven't fully sustained it the same way. We have little over twice as many people, but that shouldn't matter because Japan's the size of California with so many more people, right? So what sustained this in the Japanese culture that didn't sustain it here? The reason I'm asking is because if we have the huddles, relentless training, and we have the stop, call, wait, what else do I need to understand about our country, our culture over here that would help it to stick and find more solutions to help it to stick? Things like that.
Well, there are two components there. We have abundance. Japan does not. So America is a big place with lots of natural resources in a very wealthy country. And Dr. Victor David Hanson, one of my favorite intellects that I read a lot, he says this statement that's just quite profound. He says, luxury makes you lazy. So and I love my country, so I always want to be very careful when I speak about this because we live in the most amazing country in the world, bar none, in the history of mankind. There's nothing like America. But we have abundance, and that abundance has softened us. And we have to have a different mentality. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I view. I have a scarcity mentality. So I'm a very successful guy. I could have anything I want. I have no limits whatsoever. Zero. There are no limits for me. But I don't live that way. I live as though I could run out. I live as though it's not always going to be there. I live with intense gratitude for everything that's been given me. And you have to philosophically change your mindset. You have to teach philosophy to your people, a different way of thinking, a scarcity mentality, an intense gratitude for what has been given us, a deep respect for people and resources, because you know what, frankly, we don't deserve any of this stuff because, you and I just happened to pop out in the US. I don't know how we popped out in the US, but we could have easily popped out in Bhutan, in Nepal, or India, or somewhere like that. That has nothing to do with you and nothing to do with me. And our whole plight in life would have been entirely different than what we're experiencing right now. And once you get that settled in your head, everything changes. But you got to teach people to think this way.
Here's why I think what you said is so important. When I listen to, and I don't want to quote people, I won't mention names, but when I hear financial advisors, they're constantly saying, don't get into a scarcity mindset. And I have a really good point with this. They say, oh, that's a scarcity mindset. That's a scarcity mindset. I think what they're talking about is if you have a scarcity mindset and that leads you into fear of taking a risk, fear of helping somebody, fear of giving, that's bad.
Right.
What I'm hearing you say, wonderful. And so what I'm hearing you say is that, no, we're not going to live in fear. We're not going to live in a place where we're not giving. Any of your books, you say, give, share, improve others.
Absolutely.
What you're saying is even though we live in abundance, be respectful, live in the scarcity mindset of let's not be wasteful and unappreciative of and not grateful for what we have, right?
That's right. That's correct. I agree with everything you said 100%. I'm the last one to say don't give. I mean, all I try to do in my whole life is give. So I don't interpret scarcity mindset in that realm. I just mean that I don't take anything for granted that it's always going to be there.
I appreciate that. Well, no, it's expanded my view because I tend to hear a concept and then stick with it. And I don't think it's created a lot of waste in my life and in a bunch of people's lives. And speaking to that, I also had written down, I think you called it the two sisters, the respect for resources and respect for people. Respect for people was the only thing I focused on the last 10 years. Respect for resources, a new one for me. And so my original question was, how can we replicate that without an island and a rice culture? And as you were talking, I think it came to me, and I just want to verify. So I once went to a lean training where a person said, and this was scheduled, so it might not be the greatest example, but he said, if this is the date where you have to have it done, instead of pushing and extending that deadline and wasting manpower, resources, and all of these other resources, ask yourself, how can we go meet that end date, pull it backwards, and come up with lean ways to actually meet the date? And I think what we do in construction is we say, oh, I'm still going to meet the date, but we just descend into this chaotic last 4 months of the project, which is riddled with waste. And instead of, hey, I'm going to fix this milestone problem with waste, with resources, with manpower, with materials, with money, we need to get to become lean thinkers. And so I'm hoping that concept's right. So, I mean, when we can look at budget control and the end date for projects and quality standards, not as these restrictive handcuff type scenario, but as a challenge to get better and to force us into lean practices like the Japanese have had to because they're on an island. Does that sound right? Is there anything you'd add to that?
The only thing I would add is, yes, it does sound right. I'm trying to think how to answer that. So the key to making this all happen, Jason, is total participation. This is what I would add to it.
Okay.
So, we want to deploy all these technical tools, whether it be last planner system or whatever it is you're using, and they all matter. And you want to have the morning meetings, you want to do your daily 3S, and you want to do all those things. But unless the final outcome of your efforts is total participation, that throughout the organization, from the temporary worker to the person that's been there for 10 years on the job site to the foreman who's been there for 25 years, everybody needs to be participating in identifying waste and eliminating it through small incremental improvements. And if you can manage that outcome, all the other outcomes will take care of themselves.
I'm thinking about that. That
is the outcome we're all driving for. That is the target. End of subject. That is the end all be all.
And that's why in your morning meetings, you read books about history, you read How to Win Friends and Influence People, you get people to see. So it really comes, and that's what you said. If somebody's going to tour your site, they have to create 100 videos. They have to be doing the morning huddles, right? They have to be doing this process. So I'm hearing you say it's relentless training. And then the other thing that I like is you own a company that speaks for itself, where people can see as you do and see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group. And so in construction, we need to double down with training.
It needs to be the most important thing you do. If you say you do it when you have time, or you do it when it's convenient, or you do it when you feel there's a need to do it, you're going to fail. There's no way you will achieve the target. If you do it as part of your habit, your daily kata, your daily routine, you will achieve your objective.
So I was going to ask you, how can we go upstream and manage quality with our partners that we don't have direct control of over their companies? Because you say, hey, start with yourself. I think that you've just answered that, because we can model for other people by focusing on ourselves first, like you always say, and we can provide training for everyone, free of cost, on the project, off the project, just like you do. So unless you have anything to add to that, you've answered one of my last questions.
Your partners in the construction industry are very critical. And I can give you a classic example of what happened in Kazakhstan, because I work with the largest construction company in the country there. About a $3 billion company, 7,000 employees, 40,000 subcontractors. And the way they approached it, the way the president of the company approached it, is he understood the necessity to deliberately, not incidentally or not passively, train his subcontractors. And so he would regularly, first of all, he created a Kaizen Institute where everyone could go and learn. He would regularly have large events with thousands of people and invite all the subcontractors to come to it. So, you have an auditorium of 2,000 people, and you have all these leaders of all these subcontractors there, and I would be speaking at them and training them on lean. He sent over 150 of these leaders to Japan to train with me. The point is, he realized that a robust training program for the contractors, for the subcontractors, was essential in order for him to succeed with lean in his organization.
That's okay. Well, that's the vision. That's the next step. So we've been able to replicate, and I don't want to insult the system by saying we got it perfectly, but I've shared with you that we've implemented pretty successfully 2-second lean on some projects with remarkable results. And this is the next step.
I love to hear that.
Yeah. I mean, and I told you in the video, and I just want to share here that the owner said, when I come on site, it's like being at Disneyland, which is how I feel when I watch your video. Sorry to interrupt.
No. Jason, that brings me to another point that you might be interested in doing. It's the 10th anniversary of 2-second lean. And a good friend of mine and lean follower, Simone, is an Italian guy who's translated my books into Italian and recorded all the audio. He came to me and said, Paul, it's the 10th anniversary of 2-second lean. You got to do something. I said, well, I'm too busy, Simone. I don't have time to write another book or anything. He goes, don't write another book. What you should do is we'll do a new book called Impact, 10th anniversary 2-second lean. And we'll get people from around the world who have been impacted by 2-second lean and let them write their story. Let them tell their story in a page, 2 pages, 3 pages, whatever they want. And so we put the ask out to people all over the world, and we've had 40 people already turn it in, and I think we have another 10 or 15 more. You might be interested in writing in the book if you would like, because you've got such great success on the construction site with this, where you just tell your lean journey, how you started, what happened, what you learned, what were the results, whatever you want. And it's just been the response we've got back has been unprecedented. And we think we're going to be able to help a lot of people, because we have everything from attorneys in Australia to boat manufacturers. We have big construction companies. We have everybody writing. I mean, it's crazy the diversity of people that are writing this book. And so I think people are going to open this book and they're going to go, wow, look what Jason did. Look what Bob did. Look what Wade did. Look what they did in Kazakhstan. Look what they did in Australia. Look what they did in New Zealand. It's really a cool thing. You might consider it if you want. I'd love to have you a part of it.
Hey, done. It will be done. What's my deadline?
And also, I'll give you whatever you need. You need 2 or 3 weeks. That's fine if that works. And then I'll send you a couple examples of things people have written, just so you have an idea. But don't use that as a constraint in any way. It just gives you an idea. They just tell their story.
Wonderful. I'm going to do it.
I'd love to do it. I'd love to have you do it.
Oh man, I'm excited. So I have 2 more. We have 5 minutes on our timeline here. So you've been on Japanese construction sites. Is there, we don't want to be sharing, well, maybe they want to share techniques, but what things have you observed that you would like to share? Is there anything noteworthy, like a little tip or trick, something that you saw on their sites compared to ours?
Well, they're immaculate. You could eat off the floor. They're so beautiful. They're so clean. It's insane. I've never seen anybody pay such attention to detail. That's one. Number 2, they have a formal place where they have a meeting, their daily morning meeting with a big board, and you even have a stage because they have so many people. So very common that the leader will be up on a stage. They use microphones. The signage is unbelievable. The visual controls are unbelievable. The safety is just like over the top. All the workers are clean, well-dressed. Nobody comes to work dirty or disheveled. It's impeccable. It's just like, it's hard to even get your head around. There's no mud anywhere. They don't do mud on their job sites at all. They put steel plates down everywhere. So if there's any potential to contaminate anything, it would not happen. Every truck is washed off before it leaves the job site, so they don't take any dirt or debris onto the city roads. It's just, I could just go on and on and on. I mean, they're unbelievable.
Well, it sounds, so what we're striving for here, that's what we're striving for. So it sounds like we're in line. I do want to tell you that before I pass away, I will make a difference in construction and get our bathrooms switched out. Even if that's just one thing, I'm going to start a company making lean bathrooms and make them affordable, or teach people how to do it themselves. That's got to change in the United States.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay. So this has been fantastic. So Paul, just so you know, like, this has been 10 times as good as I thought it was, and the bar was already set pretty high.
Wonderful.
I think that's it. My last question would be, what closing advice would you have anybody listening? And then if you want to recommend any of the things that you're producing that you think people ought to check out, I think that would be the last part, because I've been listening to your books for free on the new app that you provided. So any closing advice, anything you want them to check out?
Yeah. So the one thing they should check out is obviously the app. I've spent over $50,000 putting this thing together. It's a huge project. It has all my books in so many languages, like 9 languages now. It's all free. It's all audio driven. It's beautifully designed. It's just like listening to the Audible app. It has sleep timers. It has fast forwards. It has speed controls. It has bookmarkers. It even has the ability to contact me directly through a voice chat message. You can say, Paul, I'm in chapter 8 and I don't understand what you're talking about here. And you send me a message from within the app and I'll reply right back to it. It's pretty incredible. But so that's the resource that everyone should take advantage of. It's available on OS and Apple as well, OS and Android. But in terms of advice, I would say lean is about doing it, and not doing it when you're at work. It's about doing it everywhere you go, in everything you do. Every time you develop these precision laser eyes to see a problem, to stop and fix what bugs you, do it now. I mean, I've made so many improvements in my home this morning. You made a comment that I have a beautiful home. My home's like perfect. I mean, anybody who walk in here, you think you're walking into a museum. It's like flawless. Everything is flawless. Every drawer is flawless. Everything is flawless. But yet, every morning I look around and I see things that are not quite right, and I spend time improving them and enhancing my environment which I move through on a daily basis. And then it allows for more flow and more joy and more creativity. So my advice is start doing lean. Stop when there's a problem and fix it. Don't ignore it. Enjoy the process of learning what works and what doesn't work. So the next day, you're smarter, your environment's better, and everybody that comes in contact with you, their life is enhanced because of your deeper understanding and the superior environment that you provided for them to move through.
Thank you. Let me share something that's been on my mind since I just recently read 2 Second Lean for the 6th or 7th time and then Banish Sloppiness. The word that comes to my mind is heaven. Now, let me explain that just a little bit. I think you'll like this, Paul. So I couldn't imagine going to heaven if it exists, and I believe it does, and just sitting in stagnation. You have everything, you know everything, you're just there. And I feel like we can live closer to a heavenly life now, is what you're saying. And when I think about continuous improvement, when I see your factory, when I watch these videos, or your facility, not your factory, I think that we can make eternal progress. We can create environments that are heavenly. And we can do this continuously, and I hope that we can do this throughout eternity as well. Yeah, that's exciting. It's challenging. Go ahead.
I've never heard anybody say that before. And Jason, that is brilliant, and I love it.
Well, thank you, because it doesn't make sense to me, a heaven where you know everything and have everything. This constant improvement, continuous improvement is my definition of heaven. That's a place where I would want to go. And thank God, not irreverently, but thank God that we have these now. And so there's no reason we can't live a remarkable life. On we go.
Can I say something to you? When you write your story for Impact 2 Second Lean 10th anniversary,
yep,
I think you should start off your story with heaven. That's how I perceive heaven will be, a place where not everything's set up for me and I have to do nothing, but a place where I get to experience everything improving on a daily basis. And this is what lean provides, is heaven on earth, the essence of seeing everything grow and improve. You should start with that and then say, I'm Jason, I work in the construction industry, and this is my lean journey story. I think that would just hit it out of the park.
Okay, done. I'm excited.
I've never heard anybody ever say that before, and it's over the top.
Okay. On we go.
Hey.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.